Over the last lectures, we added a lot of functionality and it's all working except for that we never get redirected once we placed an order. Now there are various ways of implementing redirection. One thing is you could pass a reference to that router history prop onto your order action creator, and when you dispatch burger success or fail, or at least for the success case, you could then use that if you receive it as an argument in this function to call the push method on it. I don't like this approach too much though, but you can definitely do that. Now the approach I'll use is a redux only approach. I'll add a new action type to the action types file. So I'll export a new const and I'll actually name it purchase init. Here I'll of course also use purchase init as a string identifier. Purchase init will be dispatched whenever we load the checkout page. Now I'll create my action creator for it. Position doesn't matter. I'll export a constant which I'll name purchase init. And this will receive no arguments and just return an action. So just return a JavaScript object where the type will be action types purchase init. Now I need to export this purchase init function in my index.js file here. So it's in the order file, purchase init. And then I'll head over to my checkout container. And there I want to add component did mount. And in component did mount, I want to dispatch this action. In this action or in the reducer, I then want to add a new property to our state where I set something like purchasing to false, which is set to true once we did finish the purchase so that we then redirect. So let me add the logic here by also adding map dispatch to prop, const map dispatch to props here, get the dispatch function here, and then return a map as always. And in this map here, I'll have on init purchase, for example, hold an anonymous function where I dispatch and where I now dispatch something I have to import from that actions file. So import everything as actions from that index file in the store actions folder, like that. And I want to dispatch an action here. The action is the purchase init action, which takes no arguments. So now I can execute on init purchase in my component did mount method here. So I'll call this props on init purchase like this. We can actually take the will mount lifecycle hook here. And with that, I'm now dispatching this. Now I can go to my order reducer and there I'll add a new case, action types, purchase init, the type I just added. And there I'll return a new state object. I'll add a new property to my state, which is purchasing, and I'll initially set it to false. I'll name it purchased, and initially it's false. In purchase init, I'll copy the existing state and then set purchased to false here too. But in success, and that's the interesting thing now, in success, I'll set purchased to true. So now purchased changes as soon as we did successfully purchase, but is always reset once we revisit the checkout container. And now I can go to the checkout container and redirect whenever we did successfully purchase something. So I can go to the summary, to the render method, where we already redirect when we got no ingredients basically. Now I'll add another constant in this case, where I will name it purchased redirect. This will only be relevant if we got props though, so I'll put it into this if statement here. And there, I'll set this equal to either a redirect to home, let's say, or, and for that I need a ternary expression, I'll set it to null, to not redirect. Now I want to redirect if purchased is true. So for that I need to map that to a prop. In map state to props, I'll add my purchase prop and reach out to state order and there it's also named purchased. It's the prop we just added in the reducer. And then here, this purchased prop I'll use here to check if this prop's purchased. That's a Boolean. So if this is true, then I'll redirect, because then we're done. I want to leave the page. Otherwise, we're still in the purchasing process, so I'll set this to null. And now I can render purchased redirect in our div here, and the other parts below it won't matter then, it will redirect us. Let's save all files and see if that works as imagined. If we open our application here, let's build a burger. Let's click on order now, continue. And it doesn't like on init purchase, so let's quickly have a look what's wrong about that. On init purchase holds a reference to a function here, but of course isn't worth that much if we don't add it to our connect function call. So map dispatch to props should be added there. Now let's try this again. Let's build a nice burger. Continue. Yes, continue. Let's quickly fill out this form. Test street, some arbitrary zip code, an email address, and let's click order. And we are redirected once we're done. And now if we add a new burger and click order now and continue, we again are redirected. Do you know why? It's related to our place where we call on init purchase. Component will mount in the checkout container is too late. Whilst it does run before render runs, it doesn't prevent the rendering with the old props we received. And in the old props, purchased is still true. So we can't dispatch this here in component will mount. I'll get rid of map dispatch to props here entirely. I don't need to dispatch it here. Instead, we want to init the purchase in the burger builder when we click on the order now button. So here, purchase continued in the end, right before we push to the checkout page. That's the place where we want to initialize a purchase. So to do this, I'll simply add a new action I can dispatch on init purchase. This will hold an anonymous function and dispatch actions, or here it's called burger builder actions. I should rename this because it's really more than just burger builder actions. So let's rename all of them to actions in the import and down there. So actions and then purchase init, like that. With that, we're dispatching this initialization action here in the burger builder, or at least we're now ready to dispatch it. I have to call on init purchase, and I want to call it right before I navigate. So this props on init purchase, I'll execute it here. With that change in place, let's see if this now works. The application reloaded. I can build a burger. I'll continue here too. And let's quickly fill out that form with test street like that. Let's click order. We're redirected. Let's now go back and click order again. And now we can go there without being redirected one more time. We got one flaw. Not sure if you noticed it though. On the burger builder, our price never resets after redirecting. So this is something I will do, or I will take care about in the next lecture.